She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. My name is Micah, and for this week of Christmas, Dani thought it would be a really good experience for you guys to hear from our team and staff members what their personal testimony is of their walk in faith with Jesus. So today you'll be hearing from Diane McCracken.
All right.
Welcome, Diane McCracken. So, what was your life like before meeting Jesus?
Gosh, that's really a good question. I grew up in a home where we went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, Friday night, youth things, a lot of things. I've met my Yeshua multiple times, and I've met him and left him, and met him and left him. And I guess the most interesting part of meeting him and leaving him was in 5th grade, where I just decided I was bad and he was good, and bad kids and things that happen to kids that are bad, they must be Satan's, and I wasn't his. So I remember just really erupting as someone that was just so what word would I use? So I started praying to Satan. I started praying to Satan as my father, because I made a decision that God and Jesus, and I know him now as Yahweh and Yeshua, they're Hebrew names, they were for good people and I was just bad. So I remember that like it was yesterday, and I went down a really dark place because of that. So from 5th grade to my 30s was full of things that were just really anti-Christ, anti-God, if you would even say good. Yeah, definitely a life full of darkness. And I would say that, there were a couple times that I remember, like going to church things and getting involved in certain things, but there was never a heart change. My heart wasn't changed because I still had that mindset that I was bad, and bad things happen to bad people. I was bad, that's why bad things happened to me. God was for the good people. So fast forward to 1991. I was close to disability. I had a boating accident in 1989, and I had a boat, and I put it in the water, and I forgot to put the plug in it, so it was sinking. So I went and I jumped, onto the dock, and I missed the dock, and I hit with my leg that flexed into my chest, and for a good while I was misdiagnosed with some health issues, and those health issues and those problems and those surgeries that were done needlessly and wrong. So I ended up having medication and being just drugged out, and not being able to function at work. So I literally was watching an Oprah show, and the Oprah show was talking about, things that people suppress and all of that, and I'm just sitting there laying on my couch. And she said, it was either her or a guest speaker, I don't remember what it was, but it just made me think about my past. And out of nowhere, I started having these memories of being sexually abused, and I'm like, And it was paralyzing to me. It was paralyzing in a way that I can't even tell you how I understand it, probably because of the things that I've done. What I understand now is, we open up doors to evil. We open up doors to evil. We are the ones. We are the ones. And I opened up so many doors to evil. So that is something that I'm just really thinking about right now. Like, that is what happened. I understand what happened now. But it paralyzed me, and I couldn't function. I couldn't think, I couldn't eat, I couldn't function. So for an entire 9 months, before the 9 months, I decided I needed help because I couldn't function, I wasn't functioning. And my sister helped me go find a counselor, and I interviewed these people to see if it was something that, someone that I could talk to, and they would be able to help me. Anyway, ended up interviewing with a woman, Virginia Cadle, out of Life Counseling in Wayne, Pennsylvania. And I started going to her, and I remember the first visit that, I sat with her, and she said, I sense a strong spiritual battle. And I in my head was like, F you. People that know Christ, like as though I know him, or people that go to church, or people that, or like God people or whatever, as though I was even a God person, like, F you. You don't even know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as, spiritual warfare. And that was my attitude with that. So for 9 months, I would go and have these visits with her, and I extended the visits and had double visits because nothing was getting better. And she just came to this place and she said, I feel like there's this tug of war going on with us. And she says, I want you to get prayed for by an ex-Baptist minister. And so anyway, so my brother and my sister went in to talk with her about setting up an appointment, and an appointment was set November 7th of 1992. And the night before the night before November 6th was it was like crazy. I had planned my death for 9 months, and it was perfect. It was like this perfect, because I've heard of people that, planned suicide, and, they failed at it. And I'm like, you know what, I am not going to fail at this. I will succeed at it. The voices in my head were so clear. I felt so peaceful planning my death, which is like insane, right? But there was such peace. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a direction, I have a purpose. Meanwhile, I was going to church. I was going to church, I was getting help, I was reading books, I was really trying desperately to get out of where I was at. And I just wrote notes to everybody, and I was walking out the door to go kill myself. And my friend's mother was sitting in her bedroom because she was going through a bad divorce, and she was crying. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I had this light blue jacket on, and I'm walking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so great. Finally, I'm gonna go kill myself. And I ended up talking with her, going in there. Her name's Conchetta, and ended up talking to her about, of all things, God, and ended up getting a little track about Jesus, like those little booklets. And I went in and read it to her, and it was literally like I was lifting the pages in it, and it felt like concrete, like the physical manifestation of concrete lifting up. And reading this, and all the while I'm thinking, what the F am I doing? What am I doing? Why are you doing this? Are you crazy? You're talking to this woman about God? You don't even believe this. And then it's at the end, it asks if she wants to invite Jesus into her heart, and she does. And it's like totally confusing to me. So she does this, and I leave her in her room. I go into my room to compose myself because I lost my composure. And she comes in and she says, do you have a Bible? And I'm like, a Bible? So under my nightstand, I pulled my Bible out and I got the dust off of it. Like there was a measurable amount of dust on it. Got it off, and she said, will you read it to me? And I said, read it to you? And she said, yeah, will you read it to me? And I said, where do you want me to start? She said, the beginning. So I am in my bed with her in my bed, and I'm reading her the Bible. And I think it was like the 6th chapter. I have no idea. I don't remember. And she was snoring. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I hated God for that. I really did. I thought, you know what? You are everything that I thought you were. You are self-centered. It's all about you. Like so warped. So warped. And I was so angry and so angry. I didn't care about what had just happened, and it just confused me. Next morning is when I had this appointment with this ex-Baptist minister, Albert, and we drove for like 45 minutes to a house, and I remember going into the house and looking at this woman, and I just like wanted to kill the woman. I just felt like my eyes could just kill her. If I wanted to. And I looked at her, she was so nice and so peaceful and so gentle, and it made me sick to my stomach. And no one knew that, it was just how I was feeling. So anyway, we went to go talk to Albert, and she said, you know, normally there's a lot of people here, you know, there's only one person here today. And I'm like, you know, F you. We go and talk to this guy, and for 45 minutes he's just going through the Bible, talking about spiritual warfare, and inside I'm saying, F you. You don't know what you're talking about. Who do you think you are? When I got up, I said to him, I want to take you by your neck, and I want to throw you through that window and kill you. And as cold as anything. And he says, so calmly and so gently, he said, if you wanted to kill me, you wouldn't have told me. And he said, you have demons in you, and they know who I am, they know what I do, and they know where they're going. And I'm like, inside, F you. So we go and we sit down, and he just proceeds to call out all of this stuff that I knew nothing about, never learned about it, didn't believe it while it was happening to me. Like, right? It felt like it was an hour. I have no idea how long it was. It was a while. And as he prayed for me, and as he gave me instruction on what to do, I literally could feel chains. I felt chains fall off of me. I felt them fall off of every part of my body. I could see, you know, some people look at me and say, oh, you're so happy and you're so joyful. And I'm like, oh my gosh. There's a song, it's called And Can It Be? And it talks about, you know, my chains fell off, and I followed thee, because there was nothing that other than he said to me, he said, who is Lord of your life? And I said, Jesus Christ is Lord of my life. And I know him now as Yeshua is Lord of my life. Yahweh is Lord of my life. And I was surprised by saying, I was surprised that I said that, because I didn't know it. I didn't walk it. I didn't believe it. it wasn't who I was, you know. So after he was done, and after he was done praying for me, and after he was done, like all these things that he delivered me from, that most churches don't believe. My church didn't believe it. Anyway, I remember like opening up the door to leave, and I remember the woman, she was so sweet. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so loving, and you're so kind, and you bring people into your house to do this? She said, oh yeah, it's a ministry. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so amazing. So I'm walking in thinking I could kill her with my eyes, just looking at her. And walking out and just feeling love for her and kindness. So walked out, was driving, and I just had, in my mind, I could see, it was almost like a stock, the stocks as they go across. I could see all of these things that I had done in my life. And I just confessed and confessed and confessed and confessed and confessed. Please forgive me for that. Please forgive me for that. Please forgive me for that. And oh, like so much stuff. Please forgive me. Anyway, ended up going back to the psychiatrist, and she said I've in 20 years that I've done this, I've never seen a Saul Paul transformation. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know Saul and I don't know Paul. But she said, you know, I've never seen this kind of a transformation. And she said, can I share your story? I said, absolutely. And she said, I'd like to have you retested. Do you remember that test that you took? And I said, yeah. She said, well, I can tell you now what that test said because you're not the same person. And she said, the test said that basically there's nothing that we can do for that person. That person is gone. Gone. There's not anything that's going to rehabilitate that person. That person is just going to be like that for the rest of their lives. So I took the test, and of course it had nothing. I wasn't the same person anymore. You know, my relationship, I actually started praying at that point. I went to my church and I started telling all the people what happened. And I just remember this one person, and you know what, people are doing the best that they can do. Oh, honey, you never knew Jesus. You didn't know him. I'm like, how do you know? How do you know? I invited him into my heart when I was little, and then something went wrong. And other people said, oh no, you know, that couldn't happen, or it didn't happen, or you weren't really this and you weren't really that. And I'm like, you know what? Kiss my butt, honey. She's in heaven now, I think. Hopefully she is. I don't know. But there were plenty of other people that said that too. And it doesn't really matter to me what people say. I know what my life was like, and I know what I walked through, and I know what I was delivered from, and the joy that is inside me. It's literally from going darkness into light. I started praying, and I said, Father, I really want to find somebody that they're not normal, and that they hear only from you. I don't want to align myself with somebody that thinks that they understand Christianity or a Christian. I don't want to be a Christian. I just want to be someone that just loves you. And I believe what you say. I believe who you are. I trust you. I trust you and you alone. I don't need to align myself with a religion. It's not what I want is religion. It's just you and me, because I know that I had a really great plan to end my life. I know that I was fully deceived by spirits that enticed me into thinking that it was a really good idea. And I know that how I think now, from a spiritual perspective, is only because you've taught me, because no one taught me this stuff. What I understand now, you know, 26 years later, that it's choices that are made. And one thing that it motivates me is to continually forgive. Just continually forgive, because I got to where I was at because I harbored judgment and hatred and unforgiveness and things that are just full of death. So anyway, I ended up getting to marry my sweetie pie Francis in 1993, and we started off in our marriage, and because of the sexual abuse and my inability, like, there were so many great things that happened, you know, in my relationship with Christ and all of that, but I never dealt with the fear of man, or I guess it's not really fear of man, it was hatred hatred and distrust of men, and again, judgment. So there was just a constant battle. So we had a really, really, really rough year after year after year after year after year. In 2010, I wouldn't kill myself again, but I was dead. I was dead again. I was dead. There were people that I worked with and people that I was in business with, and I thought, I want so badly for people to be able to be successful, because they're working so hard and they're not getting anywhere, and I know what that feels like, and it's really super frustrating. And it just makes you just kind of like die inside. Like, what am I missing? What am I missing? I have him. I have Jesus. What am I missing? Where did I go wrong again? What happened? Will I take my life? No, I'm not going to take my life. But I was dead again. But in 2011, I ended up going to a business event and sat in the front row, and this woman started talking about God, and I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, how can you be talking about God at a business event? Like, why would you be talking about God at a business event? You know, that just doesn't make any sense. And I'm just sitting there like judging, and having a good time. Having a good time. I was just laughing. I'm like, where did this person come from? Anyway, ended up coming to a couple of these business trainings, and the business training had this spiritual night. And the first time I came to one of the spiritual night things, I stood like on the wall, and think, oh my gosh, I have no idea what's really going on here. Anyway, it was through that spiritual stuff that and the business stuff combined, that I realized that I had racked up all kinds of unforgiveness again. It was all racked up. I had judgments against people. I hated people. I would love to see them dead. I just didn't care about people. I wasn't loving people anymore. I just felt I felt inadequate. I felt like I was stupid and dumb, and I couldn't learn. All the old things that drove me to suicide were all back again. I wouldn't have killed myself again, but I just sat and I listened, and I literally felt like, so I did drugs when I was younger, and I literally felt like I was just drugged. I felt like I was living drugged, like watching what was going out of my eyes, but not being a participant in life anymore, not being who I was when I was alive, when I had just woken up from, after Albert. For years and years, it was like amazing, but I did not know what to do after that at all. So you have this gift, you have this opportunity to get your life back, and I'm moving along and everything's just going great, but no understanding that unforgiveness got me there, no understanding that a lack of forgiveness and bitterness and judgment and all of that stuff was coming back in again and just filling me all the way back up again. And of all things, it was a business seminar that I remember they have the what are they called? Advanced training of the business seminar. It was December of 2011, and this woman said, line up. We're gonna, people that want to be prayed for faith, and I was with Derek and Nicole Schmidt, and Nicole Schmidt said, Auntie, come on, let's just go get some of that. I'm like, no. And she said, come on, let's just go get some of that. And I said, okay. So I said to her husband, Derek, and my husband, Butch, I said, come on, you want to go? They said, no. So we went, and we got prayed for. And I have to tell you, I was like shocked. My lights went back on enough that I noticed that something was significantly different again. Something had shifted in my heart and shifted in my mind again. and took me back to a place where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is stuff that Albert did that I never learned about. I didn't know anything about it. And so it's actually been over 7 years of continuing to be involved with this business seminar and this spiritual stuff that has put my lights back on again and really has changed my life to where I really want to serve him and trust him and say, you know what, I don't know what you're doing. We moved all the way from Pennsylvania to Texas. Feel like you're the one that's responsible for it. It's not about the company. It's not about a woman. It's not about it's not about the people at the team. It's about you. And we followed him. We followed him, you know, to come here, to make a difference for him, to help people that were like me, that they were walking dead, and even people that were going to kill themselves. You know, we have people that I hear about, these kids that are killing themselves. I know the voice that they've heard. I know that voice. It had me believing that it was the only way, and that it was such a good idea, and literally that the people that those people, if you're listening to this and you've had someone kill themselves, I'm going to tell you this: the spirit that deceived your precious loved one to kill themselves convinced them that you would be so much better off with them dead. Because that's what I believed. I believed that my family would be so much better off. My friends, my loved ones, you talk about twisted, you want to talk about deception, that's what it is. They would be so much better off if I was dead. And that is a flippin' lie. It is a flippin' lie. So you might want to get to know my Jesus, my Yeshua. Because I tell you what, he is the real deal. Man does a real bad job of explaining him, even living him, walking him. Man is a mess. I'm a mess. I am a mess. I fail. I fail frequently. I fail daily. Oh my gosh, I fail freaking daily. He's there. He picks me up. He dusts me off. He said, sweetie, I love you. I'm so proud of you. You just go for it again. Just go. You just trust me. You just trust me. You just keep. You can't die, Diane, unless I call you home. And when I call you home, you're going to come home. But until then, you just keep going. You just keep going, and you just keep trusting me. And you go out there, and if you have a chance to talk to my people that are lost, you encourage them. And you show them how much I love them. And don't even say it's me. You just love them. You just love them. You don't even have to say anything about me. My sheep hear my voice. You don't have to say nothing. You just love them. And that's what I do. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I want to do what I do. Because I know what it was like to live in darkness. I don't live in darkness anymore. I don't live in death anymore. I live in life. And it's so sweet. Love you.